Good afternoon, Los Angeles. I'm Laura Kaplan.
And I'm Matt Kaplan, Laura's dad, and we are honored to be back with you for the 16th Annual Hometown Heroes Awards.
Every year, the American Red Cross, serving Greater Long Beach, South Bay, Metro, and Southeast LA chapter of the Los Angeles region, honors community members who have demonstrated heroism through exemplary acts of courage and humanitarian service. We are excited to do this once again this year.
The one thing that is different, as you've no doubt noticed, is we are coming to you in a virtual format. The world has been adjusting to a new way of living for more than 7 months now. We all have had to become familiar with Zoom, Teams, Skype, and the other online tools. The Heroes Committee team has adapted, and we are so happy these inspiring stories can still be presented to you.
So without further ado, let's get started with 2 questions. What is a hero, and who is a hero to you?
They don't have to wear capes or a uniform. They don't have to leap from tall buildings in a single bound or web sling through the city. They can be you or me or anyone. We are about to present the overwhelming evidence for this truth that any of us can become a hero.
A hero, to me, is someone who connects with the human spirit. I don't believe that we are placed on this earth to be self-absorbed, but to help one another. And as a humanitarian, that person who takes the time to help someone in need, not because they're told or paid, but simply because it's the right thing to do.
To me, a hero is someone who jumps into action when they see someone in need. Sometimes it's a member of their family. Other times it is a complete stranger. But for those people in need, these heroes are often the difference between life and death.
The definition of a true hero is an individual who is of good character, motivated to help others in need, without anyone telling him or her what to do.
There are many definitions for heroes and attributes that apply. Bravery, honesty, inspirational, self-sacrificing, all of which accurately describe the Red Cross and their tremendous network of volunteers. Truly, the Red Cross are heroes in every community during an emergency or crisis, just when heroes are needed the most.
I spent a career in the Navy as a Navy pilot, and I also worked 20 years with the city of Long Beach with the Long Beach Police Department. And in that span of some 40 years, I had the opportunity to witness a number of heroic actions by sailors and police officers. So I think I speak with a little bit of knowledge when I tell you that a hero, in my estimation, is a person who selflessly acts to help another with no expectation of reward or recognition.
A hero is someone with courage and compassion, helping anyone in need without anyone telling them or expecting anything in return.
A hero, to me, is someone who connects with the human spirit.
A hero is somebody that steps up in a time of need. In a year that has caught us all by surprise, it is especially important and crucial the work that our heroes and our communities are doing to stick together and get through this.
A hero is someone who inspires us, someone who in a split of a second has the capability to act and help someone else.
It's an instinctive reaction, and it happens every day, countless numbers of times. If you've been trained as a Red Cross lifesaver or a Red Cross CPR, you're in a position to be a hero.
That was incredibly powerful. A hero is a mother, a coworker, a son-in-law, a stranger, a friend. We may not know when help will show up or how it will show up, but these stories are proof that such acts of heroism frequently come from unexpected sources. We also know heroism is about awareness, preparedness, training, courage, and love.
Who better to continue the conversation about heroism but the new Chief Executive Officer of the Red Cross Los Angeles region, Joanne Nowlin.
Thank you, Laura and Matt. We are so glad to have you moderating our event, and thank you for emceeing this event for the last 16 years. So I moved here to California from Florida this summer, and I was leaving Florida. There was a tropical storm about to make landfall, and when I arrived in California, we had wildfires devastating our area. And what I have seen is the heroics of this community, of people who truly care and stepped up when we needed them, from providing shelter to providing food and comfort, evacuation points. You were there when we needed you. And I think we all can agree that heroes don't always wear capes. Our 13 honorees are a really great example of that those small acts can have an extraordinary impact and even save lives. So this is my first hometown hero, and I certainly wish we could all be together celebrating, but that will have to wait until next year. So I'd now like to introduce our Executive Director, Veronica Garcia-Davalos, the woman and power behind the chapter.
Thank you, Joanne, for that beautiful introduction and for all that you've done for the region in the short time that you've been here. I agree with you. I wish we could all be together, but I am so happy that many people can join us today virtually. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our Hometown Heroes Committee members and staff for organizing today's event. When COVID-19 hit and we went into quarantine, their leadership helped us pivot to where we are today, a virtual ceremony to honor the individuals whose courageous acts have saved the lives of many. And a special thank you to our sponsors, whose commitment to help us navigate this latest challenge remains steadfast. And now, grab a box of tissues and enjoy the event.
Thanks, Veronica. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our presenting sponsor, Big Five, represented by Richard Gridley. We thank them for being a sponsor, as this program could not have come together without their support.
Hi everyone, I'm Rick Gridley with Big Five Sporting Goods. Big Five considers it an honor and a privilege to sponsor the 2020 Hometown Heroes Awards. They're extremely grateful to the Red Cross for providing this opportunity. We firmly believe in community support and recognize the importance of honoring local individuals for their selfless acts of heroism, courage, determination, and moral integrity. A sincere thank you to the Red Cross, their sponsors, and most importantly, the heroes we are here to celebrate.
Young lives are especially precious. Our first three honorees showed courage and resourcefulness under pressure that enabled them to save young people. Meet our first hero, Jennifer Kenna. In February of 2019, Jennifer Kenna was upstairs enjoying dinner with other parents as her daughter and other girls in Junior Girl Scout Troop 12135 had dinner on their own one floor down. During the meal, Jennifer got up to get something from the basement. On her way down, she checked on the troop. She'd only talked to the girls for a few moments before noticing that her own daughter, Ashley, was staring wide-eyed and motionless, her eyes as big as saucers. Realizing what was happening, Jennifer immediately ran over to her daughter and lifted Ashley out of her chair. She began performing abdominal thrusts on her while yelling over and over, "She's choking." After what seemed like ages, a piece of steak popped out, allowing her daughter to breathe. Jennifer felt like she could breathe again, too. When Jennifer took CPR first aid classes, she never imagined that she would use her life-saving skills on her own daughter. Although a bit embarrassed, Ashley was grateful for her mother's intervention and showed her gratitude in many loving ways over the following days. Understandably, it took Ashley a bit of time to regain a taste for steak. Take your time, Ashley. Steak will always be there, along with your mother and her watchful eye.
Sisters Cambria and Macy Lawrence, a sophomore and freshman at Valencia High School, came up with an idea of how to protect students. My sister and I were thinking, what's a way that we can keep our community, friends, and family safe? And then the idea came to them: bleed kits. These ambitious sisters started a nonprofit organization they call Keep the Pressure. It provides bleed kits and training to schools and other organizations. They hoped no one would ever need them, but they wanted to provide the materials and knowledge so that people could respond quickly. These young ladies assembled and distributed more than 1,200 kits to all public high schools in the William S. Hart Union School District. They provided a kit for each vehicle used by the local sheriff's station. They also posted training videos on their website, www.keepthepressure.com. It wasn't long before their efforts paid off. On November 14th of 2019, there was a shooting at Saugus High School in their district. The young women told us, "Our own school went on lockdown that morning. We didn't know what was going on or what was happening at Saugus High School." Later, they learned that their kits and the training they had provided was relied on to treat the victims. They know that at least one student's life was saved when a quick-thinking teacher retrieved the kit and applied what she had learned months earlier in their instructional video. ER Dr. Bud Lawrence said, "After the shooting, 4 or 5 first responders told me the kits were invaluable that day." When asked what's next for them, the sisters replied, "We want bleed kits and the information about how to use them to be affordable and available to every person in the country." The sisters' motto is protection through preparedness. Cambria and Macy, the Red Cross could not agree with you more. The best way to handle a disaster is to be prepared. Your kits are doing exactly that. Let's meet another quick-thinking teacher. Meet Caitlin Holt, the choir director at Saugus High School.
On that November morning, she was teaching her first period class that began at 7 a.m. The students were listening to recordings they had made when suddenly 4 or 5 other students ran down the hall screaming that shots had been fired. 2 of those students ran into her room, and without stopping to verify the incident, Caitlin locked the 3 doors, turned out the lights, and moved all of the students into her office, which is nestled within the choir room. She barricaded the doors with a piano, a heavy mirror, and a stack of chairs. When all was secure, she turned to see 40 students crammed into the small office. They stared back at her in fear. "I told them to remain calm, turn off their phones, and stay quiet," Caitlin said. After about 10 minutes, one student told Caitlin that she thought another student in the office had been shot. "I wondered how someone could not know whether she or he had been shot," Caitlin said. "Using my phone as a flashlight, I saw that one of the students who had run into my classroom was covered in blood. A bullet had gone into her back and exited through her side." Caitlin ran back to the choir room where she grabbed the Keep the Pressure bleed kit and a first aid kit. She recalls that on her way back, she bumped into the student's arm. The student yelled, "Ouch!" That's when Caitlin saw the student had also been shot in the shoulder. "I knew I had to call for help. I had one student who said he was an Eagle Scout keep pressure on the wound while I called 911. I told the dispatcher we needed the paramedics right away." Caitlin and her class are doing fine, and the student whom Caitlin helped is doing well too. So well that she joined the choir the following term.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tiffany Rao from Marathon Petroleum, and I am just so happy to be back again this year sponsoring the 2020 Red Cross American Heroes Celebration event. We from Marathon just want to thank and celebrate all of you hometown heroes for doing such special things, for being courageous to help other people's lives, to save a life, and sometimes putting your own self at risk. It is truly outstanding and remarkable, and we celebrate you, we thank you, and we are just so glad to be part of this again this year. Congratulations.
Our next 3 stories detail the power of community. You don't have to personally know someone to know that when they need help, you can be the one taking action to help them. On the evening of April 10th, 2019, at about 5:30 p.m., Matthew Kang headed out from his home in Torrance. While driving down the street, he passed a neighbor's house and noticed something that, in his own words, looked out of place. There was a man lying on the ground, partially across a lawn, motionless. Matthew stopped the car, backed up his vehicle, and got out to ask if everything was okay. In doing so, he realized his instinct had been correct. Matt approached to offer help and found the individual to be non-responsive, but he was breathing and did have a weak pulse. Matt immediately began delivering chest compressions, as trained, having completed several Red Cross life-saving courses. He ran back to his truck to grab his cell phone and call 911. A crowd had started to gather, and another individual stepped in to call for help. Matt returned to administering CPR. The stricken man started gasping for breath, although he remained unresponsive. Matt performed CPR for about another 5 more minutes until the Torrance Fire Department EMT personnel arrived. EMT administered several defibrillation shocks and injections before transporting the unresponsive man from the scene. This unexpected experience had a profound effect on Matt. He tried to follow up to learn how the man was doing, but Matt didn't know his name, making his search difficult. He called hospitals in the area, but to no avail. Matt then shared his experience with an individual at the Torrance Fire Department, hoping he could help identify the individual through their incident report. Amazingly, as it turns out, the individual, identified as Michael, had been trying to connect with Matt too. Matt and Michael finally met up almost 7 months later. Matt notes that if Michael hadn't been wearing a bright yellow t-shirt while on his jog, Matt might not have seen him there. The two men have been connected forever by this incident and remain close, fond friends. Our next story shows the power of partnership and what can be accomplished when we work together.
On June 12, 2019, Michael Kingston and Nicholas Mcmurray were working as building security at a high-rise residential complex in Long Beach. While performing their duties, they encountered a person who was behaving strangely, possibly having a psychiatric emergency. They saw the person climb into a trash chute in an apparent suicide attempt. This trash chute was located 3 stories above the basement level of the building, where it ended in an industrial trash compactor. A fall from this height would certainly have resulted in death. Even though it was outside of their usual job duties and came with risk of harm to themselves, Michael and Nicholas didn't hesitate to quickly approach the subject and take hold of his legs that were sticking out of the chute entrance. They were able to prevent him from reaching the drop point of the chute and kept a firm grip till police officers and the fire department arrived. The subject was rescued from the trash chute and transported to a local hospital. Without Michael and Nicholas's efforts, the man would surely have fallen to his death. He is alive thanks to their quick thinking and action under stress.
Paul Steffen was on his way to Denver for work. 1 hour into the flight attendant, who had seen Paul's EMR patch on his back, got on the PA and asked for any medical personnel on board. Paul remembers that in the middle of the announcement, she pointed to him and said, "I need you now." With no other medical professionals present, he jumped into action to help another passenger, a 43-year-old double-arm amputee. Just as he had learned in his emergency medical responder class, Paul says, "I did the 30-second assessment and immediately recognized a heart attack without an arrest." The woman was able to share that she'd already had a myocardial infarction, a heart attack, a year before. Paul asked for oxygen at 15 liters, masked her, and then broke out the AED just in case. The pilot asked if the flight had to be diverted. Instead, Paul told the pilot to call Med Control. Med Control is a resource available to airline crews for consultation for any in-flight medical events. With the help of a flight attendant, Paul dictated the vitals, oxygen, and OPQRST results, and asked Med Control to make the call about diverting the flight. He also calculated the time it would take to get to Denver if the flight got expedited clearance from air traffic control. The Med Control doctor ordered aspirin tabs for the woman. I gave her the aspirin and did another set of vitals after a couple of minutes. We were cleared into Denver, so we did not divert. During the landing, the victim became unresponsive to verbal commands, but responded to pain. She began screaming, but Paul was able to talk her down from a full-blown panic attack. At the gate, Paul gave the paramedics the signs and symptoms, amount of oxygen, meds administered, vitals, and more. There may not be many of us who would have felt comfortable taking over at 32,000 feet. Paul credits the course content in his EMR class provided by the Red Cross.
Hello everyone, my name is Scott Dauscher and I am honored to represent Atkinson Ambelson, Lawyer Rooted Romo as a proud sponsor of the 2020 American Red Cross Hometown Heroes Award celebration. We are so excited about supporting Hometown Heroes every year because it allows us to recognize our neighbors and community members for incredible acts of kindness and humanity. Particularly this year, with all of the major challenges we all face, taking the time to honor these heroes who have answered the call takes on even more meaning. Thank you, Red Cross, and congratulations to all of the 2020 Hometown Heroes.
The next 3 stories are about timing. Sometimes you just need the right person to be at the right place at the right time.
Edward Leon is a fun-loving senior who attends the Norwalk Senior Center on a regular basis. He is friendly to everyone there and always enjoys talking with his fellow seniors. On November 13th, 2019, at about 11:45 a.m., Ed was enjoying his lunch when he noticed James Gruel, a friend and fellow senior seated at his table, was in distress. Ed calmly asked if he was choking, and James nodded yes. Ed jumped into action and began the abdominal thrust maneuver. James was able to expel the food and regain his breath. Ed's natural tendency to help people led him to jump to service and become a hero at the center. As it turns out, Ed had saved his stepdaughter in the same way many years ago when she was only 5 years old. While Ed has never had CPR or first aid training, his instincts and caring attitude have twice helped him to save someone's life. On August 3, 2019, Gabriel Doby, a Long Beach Police Department officer, planned to spend his day off attending a children's birthday party at an apartment complex in Irvine. After making the short trip from his home in Los Angeles County to neighboring Orange County, Gabriel started off the afternoon with family and friends, gathering around the apartment complex pool area. As the party progressed, something caught Gabriel's attention. A 7-year-old girl was being pulled out of the pool by a neighbor. Whether it was his training as a first responder or just instinct, Gabriel recognized something wasn't right and suspected the child was in distress. The neighbor who found the young girl told him that she saw the child swimming but then noticed she had not surfaced for a while. The child was now unconscious. Gabriel couldn't find any signs of breathing or pulse. He told someone to call 911 and immediately began to perform CPR, delivering chest compressions and rescue breaths. He continued for 2 to 3 minutes. This seemed to revive the child. She gasped for air for a few seconds, but then fell unconscious again. Gabriel continued CPR, as he'd been trained, until EMS arrived on the scene and took over, ultimately transporting the child to a nearby hospital. One of the guests was overheard saying, "He's definitely a hero. If it wasn't for Officer Doby's fast thinking, my friend's daughter would not be alive."
Hi, I'm Paul Conrad. I'm president of Total American Investment Company. We are a proud sponsor of the 2020 American Red Cross Hometown Heroes event. Our family of companies have been sponsoring Hometown Heroes for almost 10 years now. I also serve on the board of directors for the local chapter of the American Red Cross, and I have had the privilege of chairing 2 annual Hometown Heroes events. As I record this today, the American Red Cross has thousands of volunteers deployed across the country serving tens of thousands of people who have been forced from their homes by wildfires, flooding, and hurricanes. We see these disasters in the daily news. Our Hometown Heroes event focuses on a different aspect of humanitarian service. Service at the individual level. From my first attendance at a Hometown Heroes event, I was struck by the magnitude of impact that these individuals can have on the people they help. Our heroes are ordinary people going about their daily lives who find themselves suddenly at the epicenter of another person's disaster. And they don't turn away. They don't pass by. They act. And in so doing, they make a difference. Their actions aren't reported in the national news, but in that moment, by giving of themselves, they become the most important thing in the world to the person who needs their help. They are heroes. So congratulations to this year's Hometown Heroes. We are honored to tell your stories. Congratulations too to Roger Theroux, who will be accepting the Armed Forces Services Award in honor of his recently deceased father, recognizing his father's outstanding service to this country. And a big, big thank you to this year's corporate hero, Phillips 66, for their generous support of the American Red Cross. The Red Cross mission is not possible without support of America's great corporations. And Phillips 66 is a shining example of their generosity. Finally, for all of you and all of us who support and participate in the Red Cross mission, sleeves up, hearts open, all in. Thank you.
As Paul mentioned, Mr. Theroux passed away a few months ago. His son, Roger, accepted Marvin's awards, saying that his father was looking forward to this ceremony and was very honored to be recognized. Marvin's legacy and heroics will always be with us. Marvin enlisted in the Navy on August 18, 1942. This was in Red Lake Falls, Minnesota. At 20, he had never left the state. Now he was sent to San Diego for training. Assigned to Squadron VB-106, Marvin started out with gunnery school and then made his way to Hawaii for more training on aerial gunnery. His squadron's first mission was to Midway and Wake Island in the South Pacific. It was 1943 when he began his fight in World War II as a belly gunner. During his first tour, they bombed and strafed islands and many small to mid-sized barges and ships. Recalling that tour, Marvin declared, "One of our worst experiences happened. We had attacked a gunboat, and our plane captain was killed. One of our gunners was hit 3 times in the leg. All this happened just 3 missions before we were relieved from duty and told to return to the States." Marvin returned to Minnesota. During a 30-day leave, he bought a car and drove it back to San Diego, where he was assigned to a new squadron and a new plane, the PB-4Y2 Privateer. After months of training in Hawaii, the squadron was back on combat duty by way of Johnson Island to Kwajalein Island. They started their patrols on December 14, 1944. Marvin and his crew flew over Iwo Jima, providing protection for planes that took pictures, so the Army would have better knowledge of the island. Later, Marvin was stationed on Iwo Jima with his squadron so that they could fly close to Japan. After leaving Iwo Jima, Marvin and his squadron went to Palawan in the Philippines to strike Borneo and French Indochina. In June of 1945, with all these missions under his belt, Marvin was grounded and had to miss one because he was sick. It turned out to be a saving grace. "My crew never came back," Marvin remembered. It was a very sad time, and though he felt lucky to be alive, he had lost his friends. I flew with another crew until the end of the war in July of 1945. Once again on this tour, we destroyed ships and land-based installations. Adding up all his tours, Marvin flew 1,700 hours and 114 missions. We were so lucky to be able to speak to Marvin and hear all his stories. He lived an incredible life which he devoted to service. We are honored to recognize him today. Please join me for a moment of silence in remembrance of Marvin Theroux and a life of courage. Thank you, Marvin, for all that you did for this country, and thank you, Roger, for joining us today to share his memory.
In addition to the individual heroes we are saluting today, we also recognize there are corporate heroes that go above and beyond to support the programs and services of the American Red Cross here in the Los Angeles region and across the country. Today we are proud to acknowledge Philip 66 as our corporate hometown hero. During the course of the past year, Philip 66 has organized several blood drives, encouraging their employees to give the gift of life by donating blood and blood products. They are a generous sponsor of the LA region's Prepare LA initiative, donating $20,000 to help people prepare for and recover from disasters. They have even organized teams of volunteers to take part in our local neighborhood program, installing smoke alarms and giving families important information about disaster preparedness. When COVID-19 hit earlier this year, our partners at Philip 66 didn't hesitate to pivot their employee engagement away from the Prepare LA campaign to support the Red Cross Los Angeles Unified School District meal distribution operation, which provided meals to families who were negatively impacted by school closures at drop-and-go sites around the region. They even doubled down on that support with a $10,000 financial gift. Their financial support doesn't end there. As wildfires began to ravage the West Coast and hurricanes pummeled the southern shores of the U.S., Philip 66 was there committing a total of $1 million to support disaster relief, including $200,000 to support California wildfire relief efforts. Philip 66 is a shining example of what companies can do to support our communities and the American Red Cross. They are a true hometown hero. Please join me in congratulating Philip 66 for their outstanding support.
My name is Tim Seidel, and I'm the General Manager for the Phillips 66 Refinery in Los Angeles. Today we are honored to receive the Corporate Hometown Heroes Award from the American Red Cross. This year has been an exceptionally challenging year for us in 2020, with the combination of our pandemic, with the hurricanes we've had in the Gulf Coast, and the wildfires right here in California. The American Red Cross has been leading the response efforts for us in our community. Today we are honored to partner with them and continue to partner with them as we go forward.
Making a difference also includes donating blood, and every year we honor individuals who have given more than their fair share to help keep blood banks filled. We all know blood is essential. When the pandemic started in March, the nation faced a severe blood shortage. Thank you to all those who were able to answer the call to donate. It was a scary time when so much was unknown. We commend your courage. A few months later, when plasma was needed to help treat those who were fighting COVID-19, the community answered the call and came out to donate. It's a simple act, but one that is so heroic, literally giving a piece of oneself to help others. Sounds like heroes to me.
Our first blood donor champion this year is Robert Gray. Robert started donating blood in 2003, but really stepped up his commitment in 2019, 16 years later. That's when he made his first platelet donation. Many of Robert's family members have been affected by cancer, and he had heard that giving platelets helps people fight cancer, and that they were in high demand. So he came back every week for 20 weeks in a row, donating 57 units so far. That is simply amazing, and a serious time commitment.
Our second donor champion is Michael Elmendorf. Mike has donated an amazing 865 units of platelets. That's in addition to 24 donations of blood. He made his first donation on March 17, 1987, more than 33 years ago. Mike said donating blood is a part of who he is and almost a family tradition. When Mike was growing up, his father would take him to the Red Cross when he gave blood. So when Mike was old enough, he started donating blood himself. Having had a teenage cousin who died of a brain cancer influenced his choice to start donating platelets. Now he really looks forward to each opportunity. 1 pint of donated blood can save up to 3 lives, which means that through their donations, Robert and Michael have saved hundreds of lives.
Hi, my name is Diana Morrell. I am a chapter board member and the Hometown Heroes event chair. Throughout my involvement with the Hometown Heroes event, I have had the pleasure of working with many wonderful volunteers and dedicated chapter members. This has been a moving afternoon filled with incredible stories of heroism. And as you can see, the smallest act can have a lasting effect. So congratulations to all of our hometown heroes and the blood donor champions. Thank you to our sponsors. We sincerely appreciate you standing by us during these unprecedented and challenging times, and we look forward to seeing you for your support next year. Thank you to our committee members, our volunteers, and staff. Your commitment and passion is appreciated. Without you, all of this would not be possible. And thank you all of you for joining us. We sincerely appreciate your time. And I'd like to remind you that during these times, our disaster responders, our volunteers, are still being heroes to many, many people throughout the nation. So please, if you are able to donate, please do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this virtual version of our yearly celebration.
Please join us next year for the 17th Annual Hometown Heroes Awards on May 13th, 2021.
And if you know someone who has saved a life or performed an act of heroism, please consider nominating them for next year's awards. Just go to redcross.org/LA-heroes to make your nomination today. I'm Laura Kaplan.
And I'm Matt Kaplan. Thanks again, and have a great day.
Sleeves up, hearts open, all in.
Sleeves up, heart open, all in.
Sleeves up, hearts 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 open, all in.
Sleeve up, heart open, all in.
Sleeves up, hearts open.
All in.
Sleeves up, hearts open, all in.
Sleeves up, hearts open, all in.
Sleeves up, hearts open, all in.